This is the highway to 10K, a challenge where I try to make $10,000 online as fast as possible. Okay, so it's no secret that botting is one of the most frustrating things that the average Joe Schmo has to deal with for any hobby that involves collectibles, most notably in the sneaker world. Oftentimes when you go for a release without a bot, it can feel like trying to compete in the NBA, except you have no arms. How can you possibly win with your phone? Meanwhile, people like me are here with all of the latest and greatest that the botting world has to offer. It's understandable why it feels extremely unfair. And this has been an issue for over a decade at this point. And despite companies spending millions of dollars to combat this, it still persists. By the way, I just happen to think that they do not give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, bots making an item more scarce will increase the item's hype and demand. And they get to sell out faster, and the companies selling these items get paid the same or if not even more because of bots. So there's actually a very good argument to make that bots might actually be helpful for companies. But the companies will never admit that, obviously, because it would be bad for their reputation and just bad for business. So they're forced to at least pretend like they care. But come on, do you really think they care? I don't. Sure, some do care and I applaud them for that, but most of them they don't. They just want to sell out of everything, make as much money as possible, and call it a day. It's a lot easier for them like that. So we finally get to the question, how do we fix it? How do we make things more fair? It's simple. Instead of some people having bots, some people not having bots, what if everyone had bots? So that's what we did. We gave everyone bots. Okay, so not everyone in the world. But we've recently partnered with NSB, and every new and existing member will have free access to this bot for 2 whole months. If you're interested in this, there's going to be a little bit more information in the description, so check it out if you want to join the winning team. And that's why I will personally be able to bot Nike again, just in time before the long-awaited Jordan 4 reimagined breads. All without having to increase my expenses because I already have the proxies and I already have the accounts. I know that the majority of sneakers are just not profitable at the moment, but there's typically still profitable sneakers coming out every 2 to 4 times a month. So it would be important for you to resell other collectibles as well with the help of your bot, such as Hot Wheels, Stanley Cups, Supreme whenever they're in season, and really anything else that can turn a profit. The idea is that if you only care about money, well, you make money, and if you only care about your personal collection, number one, you have a better chance of actually getting your sneaker for retail, and number two, you use your reselling profits to fund your personal collection. Back to the topic of fairness, this has kind of always been my position with it. The idea that absolutely anybody nowadays can just join a community and learn how to bot with minimal investment, especially compared to a few years ago. The game has already been fair. Apart from someone not willing to put in the time and effort into learning, there's ultimately nothing separating anyone from someone who bots versus someone who doesn't bot. And people who say otherwise are just those that want to blame somebody else for their own shortcomings. Although the membership is affordable and the bot is free, you still do have to pay for some other things such as proxies, accounts, and maybe even a server if your computer and internet suck. So it might still set you back a couple of $100s when you're starting out. It's okay to start off without a bot, and if you make enough profit from some of the activities that I've been showcasing throughout this series, or maybe just by having a job I suppose, then this initial cost shouldn't be too much of an issue. A lot of people who tried botting and gave up at this point, which a lot of people did, will say that it is a money sink. But it doesn't have to be, because you can spend as much or as little as you want. My personal advice is start off small, maybe a $100 to $200 budget, and then the more comfortable you get with it, then you can slowly start increasing your budget. Or you can say, hey, this isn't for me, but at least you tried. But it really isn't for everyone. See, back in the day, a lot of people felt like they didn't have an option but to go big or go home. It would be very common for people to spend literally thousands of dollars per drop, which a lot of the times would just go to waste. However, nowadays, with a few exceptions, no one is really doing that anymore. I feel like the meta is to just stick with a small to moderate botting setup, something that works for you so that you can minimize the amount of money that you spend and maximize your return. Because even with a bare minimum botting setup, you can still make hundreds to thousands of dollars every single month, as I demonstrated throughout the series. Sometimes all it takes is just one drop to make all of your money back and much more. Prime example are the recent Supreme box logo drops. I have made $929 just from that one release. Sure, I use Valor, but Nike Shoebot also did very well. So I probably could have gotten similar results using this bot too. Speaking of results and performance, I know some people will say, NSB sucks. Why did you even do this partnership? I'll admit, once upon a time, they were at the top and then they fell off and they were nowhere even close to being considered as a top bot. They haven't been in the conversation for a long time, but they kept working on it, and I honestly feel like they're in a decent spot now. In the past 6 or 7 months or so, it seems like they got their footing back and they're able to keep up with the competition. Now, obviously, if you're living in poverty and you don't even have a computer or a stable internet connection, then yeah, you won't be able to do this. But in that situation, buying hype sneakers or getting limited edition Stanley tumblers should be the least of your concerns. Although tens of thousands of people make money from this, success still isn't guaranteed. And this is strictly intended to be a side hustle, not a replacement for a real job. A bot is just a tool that helps increase the probability of a successful checkout. In the same way that drills, screwdrivers, hammers, these are tools that help people build furniture. Imagine if I called you a pussy for not being able to build an IKEA wardrobe using only your bare hands. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, you need a screwdriver to put this part and this part together? You're cheating. It's not fair for people like us without these tools. I am the botter boy. However, I am not making the argument that bots are actually healthy for this entire industry of buying limited collectibles. Honestly, if it were up to me, I think a world without bots would be more fun. But the problem is, that's not the reality. The reality is that bots will never go away. And if you want to win consistently on releases that sell out quickly, then bots should be considered as a possible solution. By the ways, you can still win consistently without bots. You just have to know what you're doing, you have to understand how some of these websites operate, and you need some practice. But at the very least, I don't think botters should be hated on as much as they do, and they definitely shouldn't be demonized. We are simply using the resources that we have to our advantage, and resources that anybody else could get their hands on. Anyways, we got this bot also right in time before the Stanley Tumbler release. This isn't going to be a difficult cop, however, it will make for some good practice in using this bot in the future. Let's see what it can do. As you can see, this drop went very well. A lot of my orders did get cancelled because I only used 2 addresses, and I am very well aware that this drop was easy. However, one of the main reasons I wanted to give this a try, apart from just practicing with the bot, was because I was extremely interested in their monitor queue feature. When it comes to botting any Shopify websites such as Stanley or many other sneaker websites, knowing when to press start isn't exactly that simple. This is how you would normally know when to press start on Shopify. The process of preloading is to trigger Shopify's queue by adding a random item in the cart and proceed your task to stick your fingers inside. It will vary from website to web. Explaining it is pretty hard, but it's simple once you get the hang of it. But if you are using NSB, you press this one button, start 10 minutes before the release, and it does all of that for you. It is recommended that you only run half of your tasks on this mode, just in case it makes an incorrect calculation. But for beginners or for people who are lazy like me, this is really nice. From this test release, the tasks that did have this feature enabled actually worked way better than the tasks where I personally did the calculations myself. By the way, I know NSB isn't the first bot to implement this feature. Chegg AIO has it as well, but not too many bots actually have this. Anyways, enough bot talk for now. We sold the camera that I got from Buyer's Portal, sold a couple more shoes, and sold a Funko. Also sold a pre-order for one of the Stanley Cups we copped. Very nice. Today we have a minor drop on Hot Wheels. We have the set dropping for around $250. However, the resale should be around between $400 to $500. Today I will be running both Valor and NSB at the same time, next to each other. I'm only going for one, and hopefully we cop. If we don't, no big deal. What? Click on the meerkat's head. Oh, I'm on submitting order. Let's go. Welp. Neither of them worked. Looks like NSB had some sort of captcha issue, and then Valor had some sort of payment issue. So we got a couple of the Stanleys that came in. So I'm going to go ahead and fulfill the one order that I got so far, and then I'm going to list the other one. By the way, what is the deal with companies and putting branding on the outside of the shipping package? Like, I am very surprised this didn't get stolen. Like, we all know how sought after these Stanley cups are. Nike does this, Adidas does this. Adidas is just as guilty as this because, in fact, I don't know if they still do this anymore, but in the past they had the exact size and SKU on one of the labels that they stick on the outside of the box, which is like, what are you guys thinking? It's no wonder that everyone's shoes are getting stolen. So when I ship this out, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in a poly bag just so that the contents of this package is a bit more discreet. And we also got a Dunk sale. Honestly, for this month, super dry. However, we still managed to make a little bit of money, but that's okay. We were still quite busy. And another piece of good news, speaking of free bots, I just got word that Stellar has partnered with us as well, and every new member is also going to get 1 free month of Stellar. This is a retail bot supporting these websites. So yeah, every new member gets 2 months of NSB, 1 month of Stellar. What more can you ask for? This is absolutely crazy. Maybe I'll give it a try. Who knows? In any case, I will see you in the next one.